We're talking about yoga here. No tight pants, no mattresses, and no crap. This is the real deal. The Shadow Dance. A Barbarian Lunatic production.
Okay. Okay, I've got the boost on. It's filming right in front of me. You know, I can have a conversation. You know, I can talk. And I hope that it's not going to be... Okay, I can actually... Wait a second. You know, something I like... You know, I'm stuck on this. Do you like this? Okay, now I have to figure this out. Why didn't you do this before? You know, the angry voice says, just for no reason at all. Right, let us just see where this is going, you know? This loving, unloving kind of relationship full of hate. I don't give a crap anymore about women. Like, literally. I mean, you know, spend time with the ones that bring you comfort and drop the ones that just want to make you a part of, you know, their sob story. I think that's just what it's gonna be now, you know? Let go of the ones that want to turn you into their sob story. The husband I couldn't have. Yeah. Because you never surrendered yourself to him. Now, irrelevant subjects are being replaced by relevant ones. You know, I did not solve all the problems in the world, but I did, you know, mention something about my website, which probably only few of you will have heard, and, you know, to be frank, it won't really matter. You know, I'm not saying that it's not good that you heard it, it's just that, you know, that's my message. You know, in that sense, I'm not your friend. You know, I'm just leaving behind, right, what I have encountered on the path, so that you may learn from it and maybe make it a bit better. Or just, you know that there's someone out there who's also struggling and who manages to, you know, hike for at least, you know, maybe this is going to be an hour. You know, he can hike for an hour and he can talk and he can be, yeah, in bare feet. When I left earlier, it was 7 degrees Celsius. If the recording will continue before we reach an area called the Breukenkreuz, I will be able to show you the current temperature and the time, right, so that we can at least agree upon that. But, you know, I don't know yet. You know, in my left hand I'm carrying a bag of groceries, which, you know, only me and a friend know that it contains groceries, right? So, you never know if what I say is actually true. You can believe it, of course, which I think is nice because it's true. There are certain things that have happened, and I'm starting to remember how I used to feel before I felt all of these other things. And of course that makes no sense. I mean, it just made no sense. And it continues to make no sense. So, that's just picking up where I left off. And now I came exactly, almost exactly this way earlier. And now I'm going to walk back. I feel relieved that I I'm with Green Geeks. I'm not, is this advertisement? I'm just saying that, they offer green server solutions. And the question is, of course, is that genuine? Or is it just bullshit marketing? I mean, can you really have a green server? Can they really do a better job, a greener job, a more resourceful job of hosting than other services? I had the Pro package because I wasn't only not sure, that I wanted to do what I'm doing. No, I also wanted to do it 3 times, I wanted to do it in German and in Germany, and I wanted to do it for the world in Amsterdam, and then I also wanted to do it, for whatever else. It's a bit much for one guy, or one man, to face all of these challenges by himself, So, I've been asking for a woman, and none came. I've been asking for just someone, and none came. And I think, if I think about finances, what, just to project it into the future, what am I supposed to fund if I were ever to make money, which I believe I am, that's just my problem to work with. Who would I fund? What would I invest myself in? Can I buy tobacco, with the money I earn, with the books that I wrote? And then he's like, absolutely not. You can never smoke again. It's like, is that how it is? Is that the message? Because I smoked my last cigarette? Is that really then my last cigarette? Have I really given up on smoking? I think, if I would think that, I would need weed, I could also just make oil, if I was really desperate. That's not advice, of course. I'm not encouraging you to do this. I'm just saying that there are other ways than smoking. Of course, smoking is one of the easiest way to, I never advocate psychedelics because, they're insane, but so is eating meat from mass production because, just look at these cows. Their eyes are like, I'm in fucking pain. Scratch the F word, but it's just, there's just strong emotions piggybacking mass production of animals. And yeah, I've shown, I can eat meat and I can still continue. And I even, the question is, have I talked myself into eating meat because I wanted to be like everyone else? Because Jesus, the stories I've heard, whoever that guy was, certainly not the guy who was nailed to the cross, because he looks a bit too white to be born and bred in Jerusalem, right? There's not a chance that he would have been white. He probably would have had curly hair, and then he just would have been, Muhammad or something. Now, I don't want to be, it's just, to me, it's a perspective, right? There's no reason to hate me, to shame me, to say that, no, I've been unfaithful, no, I'm shaming your prophet or whatever. There's no reason for that. Because I never said he doesn't exist. I'm just saying, if Jesus would have been born in Jerusalem, he probably would have looked a bit different. He certainly would have had dark skin. So why does he look so white on these crosses? Maybe you could say that, yeah, because the color faded. No, they just couldn't have it. No, he has to look like us. And of course, I could be Jesus. But Jesus would never have been as white as he has been shown, because he would have been in nature a lot. So his skin would have been at least dark. So where is Jerusalem? And maybe Jerusalem is Germany. Maybe every part of the world has its own Jerusalem. Just like gurus are the Jesuses of India, like enlightened beings, even children. And that's why I like listening to Ramdas and these stories. Now, question, can I walk through the forest at night, and talk really loudly? Or should I be quiet and whisper, Is it like, do I have to be respectful? Certainly not if you're working on a mission, because in the end what's going to chase you is just going to be your fear. And I think I have no problem with forest spirits. I have a problem with city spirits and park spirits. That's more what I'm concerned about, which is why I'm just working with that. I'm just gonna put it like this for a second. Yeah. All right. Now this is just going to be one of those hikes where I wonder why I feel, wow, I haven't carried this much weight in a long time. And on the way here, right, now is the way back or the way somewhere else, I was talking about the emotional and the physical body or the spiritual body, and I have just been informed that the reason I felt so vulnerable and weak and far away from myself for so long was because I had been stabbed. Like my emotional, spiritual, energetic body. Physically I looked all right. But this is just something I have been told. And then you can say, well, that's bullshit, it makes no sense. Well, to me, it makes absolute sense. And it would be probably very hard for you, if I say it with such confidence that it's bullshit, I can just hear you nodding on the other end. And I don't get it. Why do I suddenly feel so sure of myself and my path? I've just laid aside some of these insecurities. And one reason is also, I stopped smoking. But at the same time, I have the feeling that smoking helped me to get, because I feel stronger than ever. And, I smoked myself through kinds of depression, and I ate meat, and I did all the things that, you think you shouldn't do if you're like, I feel spiritually enlightened and I've been a vegetarian or a vegan for the last 3 years. I've been keeping myself really pure, and I'm not shaking hands. And then you go around and suddenly you shake hands and you occasionally eat meat and you do smoke tobacco with cannabis, and then you feel however you feel. And then you come to a conclusion and you say, does it really matter? Was it that I stopped eating meat? I do feel that eating meat, I don't know. At the time when I ate it, I thought I needed the strength. But, you know, I don't know. Is it just a phase now? You know, now uncertainty creeps back in. And that's what you get from talking about it. You know, if you just shut up, and when you feel like eating meat, you would just eat it instead of thinking about it, you know? You could just wait until the moment comes and then you eat meat, right? I mean, if you're sitting at home and you're just craving meat, I mean, you can go and buy it, or you just say, wait a second. Did I study environmental protection? Do I know how bad eating meat is for the environment? You know, can I really hold my ground against you know, angry people that are just gonna look for a reason to hate me? And, you know, what's all of this have to do with anything? So this time, I just simply said, you know, women can be friends. And why did I say that? Well, very simple. Because having sex with women is just too complicated for me. You know, they just forget who they are, and then they want you to take care of them. And then, you know, they have all these needs, and because now you've had sex and they think you're their husband because of all these, you know, laws that we think we follow, you know? Like everyone has to be, you know, then you have to be married. And then you have to stick around each other, you know? So I rather say, yeah, fuck off. I mean, that's what I really say, fuck off. You know, then I'd rather not be with any woman anymore. Until there's one where I'd really want to have a child with, you know? And that's then the one, you know? But I can still, you know, sleep in the same room as other women and just be friends with them. Because sometimes what a woman really needs is just a guy to crash. And then she can crash there, and then you can not have sex, but you can just enjoy each other's company, you know, and then the woman can leave and you can just be a friend. And that's just, this kind of boundary is very hard to maintain, especially if you smoke cannabis, unless you know where your place is and you know where their place is supposed to be. And then you can just put them into that place and just, you know, when they like get closer and they try to wiggle, you know, into your, you know, or under your blanket, you just say, nah, you know. Or maybe you just let it happen, right? Now I'm talking about women again, you know. I don't know, I can just say that a couple of weeks ago, I would not have been able to do this recording because I would have just shat my pants. And now I've done all this work. I don't know, I started writing this book and I came here today and then I felt this fear. It was like, oh, maybe somebody can drive me. And then I just said, yeah, I'm just gonna walk, you know? And suddenly I felt better. But this feeling came back. It's like a very weird feeling. I think it was my mother's fear. You know, like her energy trying to overpower me. And you just think, where did that just come from? Yeah, I really do not want to have the light on. Okay? I'm just gonna put it in my pocket because I actually really like walking through the dark. And of course, you will not know whether I just blackened the screen. What the fuck? You know? What the fuck? That's just part of the night. It was just a stick, because even if there were giant snakes or eel monsters, they wouldn't be here, right? I don't know, I'm just really perceptive suddenly. Who woke me up? Did I wake myself up? Was it my choices? Was it just, I kind of just said, fuck it. I don't care. Just fuck it. Not in a bad sense, just in the sense that you just accept it. And now I also have to work on my voice. Because it's so funny, but earlier today I just heard my, nephew talk. And I thought, why does he talk like a woman? Well, because mostly there's just women talking to him. And when there's men talking to him, these men also talk like little children, How often do you really hear a manly voice? How often do you really hear that? I just uploaded, I don't want to be, I want to just sound a little bit proud. I don't want to sound like really too proud, but I did manage to carry myself, or get carried, whatever, through all of this shit. It wasn't shit, okay? Well, that's just bullshit to speak like that. And I think it's time we learned proper language. Okay, that's transformation, but it's also a bit phony, because, it's very hard to maintain, to speak like this, and then to keep speaking like this. Okay, I do feel strong, but I also do feel weak. I have done things like this before. But I certainly feel that this is a heavy burden that I'm carrying at the moment. And I am certainly open for change. It's just hard to see it. Right? It feels like it's staring me in the face. I don't fucking know what's looking at me at the moment. I see someone leaning over, looking at me. And I don't know who that is. Somebody's looking at me. And yesterday I had really weird, I'm just gonna talk about this again. I was lying in bed, felt like things were happening in front of my eyes. I'm not the only one weird shit happens to. I just happen to want to understand it and explain it. And maybe it's just my third eye. Maybe there's just someone walking around here, but I have the feeling I can almost perceive who this is. Some kind of someone that I know. But I don't know what he would want with me. There's people that just want power, and they would use you, right? But if they want power means, they don't have their own, which means that they just use others. And you can look at me all you want. You're never going to understand what I'm talking about, because you're just different than me. And so, because you never lived the life that I lived, you lived your own life. And because you never lived the life that I did, and you never had, the father that I had, you never had to carry my burdens. You carry your own burdens, all right? But, just stay away from me, because I have nothing to ever say to you anymore. And that's hard. To be in the presence you've done stuff with, and then to just say nothing, right? And somebody you've experienced something like oneness with, and then you just say, fuck it, And he's trying to intimidate me with his will. right? He's trying to like force me to go to him so he can use me, you know, to get what he wants, which is power and money and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like I've seen where his path is going. I'm just not interested in it, because his path seems to be one of greed, you know, just for himself, just to show others that he's powerful. And I simply don't want that. You know? I just simply don't want that. You know, it's like if you have a house and you take the best apartment for yourself, you know, okay, is that the right way to do it? I'm not so sure about it. Well, if your tenants complain, you know, and I heard them complain that, you know, there was like a leakage in the apartment and you just didn't give a shit about it. Well, then you weren't a really good landlord, were you? Because I saw your apartment. There was not a leakage in your room. Not a chance there would have been a leakage in his room. No. You know, he would fix it. And then the question is, of course, you know, maybe the tenant should just do it himself. But I'm not so sure about it. Because that's just how it is, right? You rent so that your landlord has to take care of these kinds of things. And then you can say, maybe it was a necessary sacrifice. But I've also seen how he used others. You know, how they worked for him, and then, you know, when they did need money, he kind of refused. You know, but he did take in guys that were like really vulnerable and kind of lost all hope. And then he had him, you know, just like me, right? He gave them drugs, he gave them weed. He never really gave them money. He once in a while gave them like 50 euros, 100 euros. But he lives with his family and he eats all of this nice food. And he just once in a while gives you like a cracker. But you work for him and you carry shit and he promises you, yeah, you're gonna get something. So you see, he's trying to look through me, right? So he's dwelling on me. I know it, I can feel it. But I just leave him behind. You know, even now I felt like he was trying to call me because he could feel me. He was looking for me. But he doesn't know where I am. He probably doesn't even know who I am. I mean, that's the guy who's wearing like, you know, thick glasses. I mean, how blind can you get? I mean, no wonder that you cannot see what's happening. Because you just lost it. I mean, you know, that's why I don't understand why Gandhi was wearing glasses. Because I think I would never do that. Maybe he just wanted to look sophisticated. Maybe it just helped him. I cannot understand how, because nobody needs it. It's a gimmick. So how true can you be? Well, I've got tattoos, right? Maybe it's just something he liked or he got used to. You know, okay, he lost teeth. For now, I still have mine. You know, I'm trying to keep them, but how hard can I hold on to them? So if you would really lose your eyesight, or you would just turn out to be short-sighted, I mean, for me it was just, you know, I'm just taking care of my eyes. Right? And how do I do that? Well, you know, I do like eye yoga, you know, stretching the nerves and the muscles by looking as far up as you can with closed eyes. And then looking as far down as you can with closed eyes. You know, and holding it and stretching it. And looking as far left as you can with closed eyes. And going into nature. You know, and I've done like staring meditations that were just things that came to me. You know, I drove to a lake with a bike And I'm just walking here, I'm facing the fear. I'm just facing fear. Feel like never say it out loud. I think that's just stuff from the past. I'm just gonna talk about it later. Because now I'm in bare feet, I just feel vulnerable. And I certainly think that, just in general, there are many pitfalls in life. I mean, you awaken, I came from Africa, and I went to a place, and then you could say I was discovered, and suddenly there was this guy, right? And I mean, I think you can come out now, right? But then every time I walk, and there's just nobody. But I do feel the fear that somebody could just, jump around the corner or suddenly come out of the shadows, just manifest in front of me. And it would literally, it would scare me. But am I supposed to stop walking and then run back and then, oh please, Because I don't see a corporeal form here. I don't think he could follow me here without his torch. I've tried hiking with him, and every time we did, he just had to have his torch, So I pulled him along to go for hikes, and I thought it was too much for him. Or maybe it's just not his place, and maybe I'm just, really mean. Maybe I just have it all wrong. And why did I just say that? Why did I just say, you can come out now? Because where is he? I'm turning around, look behind me, there's no one. But the fear feels real. And I just saw someone staring right at me. This sounds like a story, but I'm actually walking here and I'm recording myself. And I feel like there's somebody trying to look at me, try to look me in the eyes. Because I feel like maybe I'm the blind one. It's impossible to say these things to anyone but to the camera or the microphone. Because if you would say it to someone, they would just deny it. They would just call you crazy. But to me, this is real. This is part of the spiritual truth, that just recognizes that all life, or some of life, has a physical form, like a corporeal form, something that manifests, takes shape, And then there's also the energetic and the emotional body. And there's probably an astral body. I happen to be ignorant of some of these things on purpose, right? So, how did maybe Gandhi see the world? I couldn't say. But in that sense, I'm my own version of him. Because there seems to be things that I can say, where nobody can follow me. So I just say, I make my content, I write my books, and if you're interested, read it or listen to it. But I'm not gonna sit around and give private lectures for everyone. I'm not gonna sacrifice myself, just sit in your living room and give you these insights anymore. Because I already have them everywhere in my content. And they're all hidden. Which means if you don't want to know what I have to say, but that also means you would have to humble yourself to listen to me. And that's of course another pitfall. Because how far can I bring you? Because the only thing that you need to understand when you try to follow me into this is that I've said it all in the Book of Fear. That's the baseline. That's where I started. Of course, I started first with my podcast, and the book came later. But the baseline for everything was just the Book of Fear. And then I went deeper into these topics, because I did already scratch the surface of pornography, because I knew it had something to do with it, by just spending too much of your energy. And then I got to the point where I said, right? What did I say? Well, I can actually afford to make money in all kinds of ways. I don't know which. It's not just about the money, I know that. But, I seem to think that sometimes you have a purpose, and this purpose you feel like would at least need some form of income, because I cannot live entirely without food. There's a cost involved to walk around and have a human body and write books and stuff. And I think Yogananda seemed to agree, because what I read in Autobiography of a Yogi, Sri Yukteswar said, you pranam to food too much, and pranam means pray. Well, if you already feel close to God, hey, that's the moon, really far away. If you already feel close to God, then maybe you can just get to Him by food, because it's also an exchange. Seems like almost like 20 minutes left. There's like dogs barking. No, none of my concern. I hope. I'm just going to keep walking and hope that I'm going to get through safely. So who's just looking at me? It felt like a part of me was sleeping, and somebody was trying to get to my secrets. And that's the thing, if somebody knows kind of how I feel like, he can sit at home and try to connect with me through spirit, and he can take then psychedelics, and then they can, give him certain abilities. But the thing is, they won't help him, because it's not his abilities. He uses psychedelics to get there, but then he wakes up, he learned nothing, because instead of looking at me, he should have just looked at himself. And that's the message that he got in ayahuasca, where he was just always trying to find these secret passageways of knowledge and power, but then he got them, and I don't know, I think he had no idea what to do with them. And, at one point he was just looking at things, and there was just random shit happening, and they just said to him, "What are you doing? Fuck off. That's just stories he told me." And who's he? I don't know, man. Right? I'm trying to figure out these things, who I met along the way, who these people are, who tells me what, and why they scare me. If somebody's greedy for power, it's unlikely that he will ever really get it. Right? And what most people always fail to understand is that, who was Achilles without everyone else? That's just what they don't understand. Who was Achilles without everyone else? So Achilles was just a selfish guy who just wanted to have the glory for himself, but he died fighting a useless battle. That's how it looks like. to me in a way. While he could have, been at home with his wife and children, but of course, I get what is being said here, because I seem to kind of lead, kind of a similar life. Only times are different, which is why, these days you do these kinds of battles from the internet or, alone in your apartment. So I start to perceive, maybe you can call it the underworld, without taking anything, And I've said these things before, right? Other people label them as no. It's like the idea that a condom could save a woman from getting pregnant is preposterous. It's just that not every woman can get pregnant all the time. These things work to a certain degree, but there are instances where women can get pregnant when a condom was worn simply because, they connected with spirit. And that's why, too bad, little girlies, you think you can just fuck around and have fun. Yeah, I think you're all gonna get pregnant at some point. It's just like, sorry, I just also say things that sometimes don't really make sense, but it still feels true. Playtime's over. For many of us, playtime's over. It was just wakey wakey. Nature needs friends. Maybe we should just call it nature and friends. But that's just what I feel. Nature needs friends. And nature needs help. And the question is, how can you help her? Also by taking responsibility for yourself. And then maybe in due time, if you wanted to, for a woman. And maybe there are women who just need to take responsibility for a man, I don't really know. I feel, if you think that I really enjoyed, I do enjoy what I'm doing to some degree, but a large part of it is just hell. But that's just, if you feel like there's like a warrior inside of you, you need a purpose, my friend. If you ain't got no purpose, you can't get that purpose from me. All you can get is a bit of insights that you could get yourself. And that's why I still, however far away he may seem, I still like Terence McKenna. Because always in his talks, he always stressed the point, what you get from me is what you could have gotten somewhere else. So no matter how deluded, right, you may think he has been, if somebody manages to say that, he's basically telling them, I would never do what you do, like come here and pay to hear me talk, I would never do it because I'd rather take these things myself and find out what's gonna happen. Which is why, I think a lot of the stuff that we record is actually for later. Because, what's the relevance of me recording myself to such a degree? It's just to show, people want transparency. Yeah, this is as close as you can get to it. I've said that before, without filming yourself sitting on the toilet and, taking a crap. That's as close as you can get to filming yourself, That's like the closest thing to transparency without filming yourself taking a shit, Then I just said it. So what are we talking even about transparency? What, you want companies to be transparent? Yeah, but how about the people? You know, because I don't know what you do. You see, you know, it's like, what does the company really does? What does the company really do? I feel sick of talking. I feel sick of talking suddenly. And I know why. Well, I don't know why. You know, maybe I attracted the attention of someone. You know, but of who? You know, I don't know. Maybe I posted something and, you know, maybe who I thought was looking at me wasn't who I thought he was at all. Maybe it was just someone that looks like him, and maybe I should just be careful, right? Maybe I should just be careful around, I don't know, women, because I can't have sex, you know? So, you know, deal with that. You know, deal with standing under the shower and hearing a voice say, give up your sexual desire. Why did the voice say that? And why did I actually start working on it? While there was a part that hated me, you know, I started working on it. Because I find it, you know, I like sex, the idea of it, you know, and the, you know, merging into each other. But what I need is a safe environment and just one woman. You know, that's just what I feel. You know, I don't want millions of women, you know. I just want one, I think. And I don't have to have sex with any woman. You know, that's what I think. You know, but what's gonna happen? Where am I? Right? What's gonna happen? You know, am I going to have sex? You know, why does it say I should be careful around women for some time? Because you never know who it is. You know, I've seen faces change right in front of me, especially at night. You know, you meet a woman, she comes towards you, she's like super attractive, and then you know, you unwrap her and you don't really look anymore, you just dive in there and you have sex with her. And then what happens? I don't know, she just turns into something else or someone else. I mean, I've had these situations, you know. Women are witches, my friend. You know, not just one of them. We all have that ability. Why is the focus always on the eyes? Because it's the eyes they use to keep you trapped. And now it says something about be careful about what? Well, getting trapped into what? Weirdly, you know, also be careful around women. You know, I'm just also talking about mothers. I'm talking about, you know, old ladies. You know, because if you start having sex with old women because you want to help them and heal them, and like, oh please, you know, what's gonna happen? You know, you're never, you know, do you think Achilles would have done that? Well, he didn't father any children. Question, do you want children? You know, I'm not quite sure. You know, I would really test. Wow. I'm starting to feel afraid. And maybe because of what I've just been talking about, because maybe, you know, there may be instances, right? There may be instances, you know, even my sister-in-law is simply not trustworthy. Because what I realize is that she imposes fear on others that she thinks are weaker than her. You know, she does that. You know, because she wastes her energy on the internet. But she lies about it. Or she acts like she doesn't do these things anymore. She just says that. You know, women that wear tight yoga pants are certainly not trustworthy. Because if you wear such pants, then you can be certain that you don't know jack shit about jack shit. And that's just one of the things that, I'm just looking for. I'm just looking for clues, who to trust. And I trust the people that I've known all my life simply because, I've seen you sit on the toilet, So, I've also seen you, struggle and fight. I've also seen you, not turn me down. Maybe when I just needed a friend or something, right? I've also seen you encourage me when it was hard, right? That's like also my siblings. Or maybe I've also seen you offer me a beer and ask me, if I needed help or something. And that's also, like brother. So, yeah, I stay away from people that just give me drugs, simply because, I started to see what their game was, because they thought I needed the drugs. They even had one who said, just asked him, I also did ask him for a bit of weed, and then he gave it to me. He said, yeah, I know that you need this. What kind of fucking relationship is that? You give me weed? I mean, if you've got money to buy weed, then you could have just given me $100. I'm just saying. But you wouldn't do that. Because as long as I think you may give me money next time, you just keep me happy with weed. Okay, I was happy that I received the weed, but it wasn't weed that I wanted. I wanted to be appreciated for the work that I'm doing, which is transformation, which is yoga, and which I seem to know more about than you do. Sure, you shared some of your knowledge with me, but I've paid you back 100-fold. And so, question is, okay, the feeling I have, never go back to any of these people. That's just the feeling that I have. I do feel also fear about losing my parents or something, but, I work against that. So I go there and I talk with them and I have conversations, and when I'm just saying it, my mother asks me to come, I'm just gonna do it. And if she says, maybe we could sometimes meet for a cup of coffee, I don't know, I'm just gonna do it because, she's the woman that raised me. She's the woman that raised me. Why is this so flashy? It's like breaking, Sometimes you just need light to get through the fear. And that's why, in a way, yeah, sure, I like these torches. Or maybe the torch is breaking. Maybe it's just a sign to turn it off. Maybe that's just... Okay, just give me a sec. Oh, wow. Of course it's all black, so I've still got... Okay, now it turned off. Interesting. It cannot be because of the heat. Maybe just two, Maybe I don't have to have it all the way. I think that's why it was flashing. It was just a signal. And of course, if it flashes, maybe it uses less battery. Jesus. And maybe I'm less strong than I think. Maybe I think I am strong. And I think I know certain things. But if you can't see that, then there's no way of telling you what I see. Because even if I tell you what I think, that means nothing. Because you may think that I'm looking for someone, but in a way, I don't even know who I'm looking for anymore. And of course, that's just words. And that's just torturing myself. And that's just, I think I'm just trying to forget because it is too much to love someone and feel so far away. If you're Paris and you fell in love with Helena, actually something interesting that she said, which was just in the movie, right? But there is, of course, some kind of truth, right? You can see how people could say these things. It's like saying what she says, I never knew how young you are. Well, he still got her. He got her. And then he said, we're the same age. And then she says, I was never as young as you are. And maybe that's why I think I should have a younger woman. I'm attracted to young women. Not like 17, but maybe 5 years younger, or 6 or 7, maybe even 8, because I'm quite young, which means, women tend to be a bit more mature, so they say, right? Wow, look at this. And my idea is, if I would have a woman, I would like to take care of her, which is why she should be a little bit smaller than me. Just to, I'm not a heavyweight guy. I like women that I can handle, I cannot handle really big, African women or something, because I would just feel like I'm being squashed. But I can handle, a woman who's just, I'm 70 kilos. So, she'd be 50 or 60. I don't know. Maybe just a bit smaller or almost the same height, eye to eye. I don't mind that. But she shouldn't be super huge. And, big women also kind of tend to stay away from me. It's not that they couldn't want it, it's just that I would just never give into it. It's just the way it is, It's just what I realized, The women I liked the most were the ones that I could pick up. I've also been with women that were kind of smaller, but heavy built. I don't know, I never really liked that. Just too heavy. Just my second girlfriend. She was kind of smaller, but bigger in width. More heavy, I don't know what that means. Maybe things have changed, maybe now it would be different, but now I wouldn't be interested anymore. So, the closer you get to the truth of who you are, wow, the easier it is to distinguish, who could be right for you. And I've seen women who, I met them when they were on a sugar fast, and after 6 months they stopped the sugar fast and then they just got fat. Okay, fat is a bit extreme, but they just lost all their composure and they just, started to really widen and not give a crap about what they eat, Yeah, I don't care about being a vegetarian. Yeah, I like being vegetarian. It's possible that I could eat meat occasionally, but it's hard to say at this moment, because I actually feel good being a vegetarian. I'm not sure how much of that I want to sacrifice for, the benefit of being with others. And if I have to sacrifice, I'm just not so sure about these things anymore. How much of what I did was because I ate meat, You know, how much, did it really give me the strength that I needed? Or did I just tell myself that? I think I could eat chicken again, but it certainly takes a long time to digest. And if it's like, if you're going through really, really heavy stuff, like really heavy, that you feel like you're about to die or something, maybe just eat a chicken, But only if you want to, not because I've said it, or not because others eat it. I ate the chicken because I saw someone eating chicken, and I actually wanted to eat it myself, right? So maybe that's why he did it. And I realized, I think there is this kind of man in me. It's just a shame that, it's just a chicken from whatever. I can certainly replace it with chickpeas, which is maybe why, there's a chick in it. Because they have a lot of protein. But I can also see myself eating chicken occasionally, But I also don't have to. But, I'm still not sure who I'm supposed to be, when I'm supposed to be who, because there seems to be so many facets that I have, and just an endless amount of words, that are certainly an attempt to express what I am, or who I am inside of this. And if there were no internet and these devices, I would probably write it down or just give a speech. I mean, that's how it used to be. People would just give speeches. Wow, when did this turn so muddy? Like, seriously, I think there were like cars driving here. Just really muddy. So, that's just how it used to be, right? People just giving speeches and just talking about things. And now it's, there's just such an overload that in order to stand out and just give your message to the world, which is also, in a way, Achilles, now, what would he have done? Because you cannot really, he could go to war with a weapon, but these wars are different than they used to be. There used to be no police, Today it's kind of like, if you shoot someone, you kind of have to feel ashamed. There used to be really times where killing people made you like, the coolest guy in the world. Today it's like, prison for you, and it's, I'm not saying that it's good. I'm just saying that's just part of the times. But if I would have lived before, maybe I would have been, if it's like looking at Vikings, right? Maybe I would have been Ragnar Lothbrok, the guy with the vision, because I certainly had my share of visions that I'm still running after, which is true. Which is what visions do, they inspire you to do something else. To change your ways and to go nuts. But you also have to look at the times, and these are times where, people kind of want peace. Because, you could do it like, Charles Manson, and just spend time with people on the streets, and then you could be a little bit ignorant, and then you just end up in prison. Or you could just do it like Terence McKenna and just live completely isolated and just occasionally travel and read a lot, take psychedelics, and then just kind of also end up in prison. I don't know, I'm free of reading, but I'm trapped in talking. I'm also in prison. If you don't get it. I'm also inside prison. There's like a prison. And that's also my form, right? I'm trapped in this. And I have to keep going with it until it's over. And, to me, I'm not, in my essence, I think, I'm not a violent spirit, simply because I never really chose violence. But if I did, if it just happened that, I went and just maybe, I don't know, things happen. I had brawls with my brother when I was younger, but I have to say I felt really ashamed. And I also felt really ashamed about other things. And maybe it's just autumn speaking, right? Maybe it's just autumn telling me to let go of all these things. It's like there's a special phase, I think it's between somewhere December. It's like some kind of nights, the rough nights, or I don't know how they're called. I don't know how they're called. Christ. Okay, I know I've been doing these things before. I'm like half an alien or something, right? I'm like the thing that comes out of, I'm like the thing that comes out of the Predator in the end of the movie. Okay, if you haven't watched it, that was a spoiler, by the way. So if I'm the thing that comes out of the Predator, then I'm like a hybrid. I'm like, I feel like I've got the spirit of a warrior, but I'm like, I'm born into the city, but I certainly feel drawn into nature. But when I'm in nature, I just want to get back to the city. I like, I just like facing the cold and the night and the fear, because I realize that whatever comes in life, I have to be strong, but I also miss the comfort. So, I cannot just convince myself that I want to be in nature all the time. Because I don't want to, right? I like having an apartment or being given an apartment, and I like the idea of having my own income. I'm not a samana from the woods, right? I'm, maybe I'm Siddhartha after, but that's also not me. So I'm not the Siddhartha that got sucked into, having sex or learning sex from this woman, courtesan, lady, whatever, and then he, gets rich and he gets fat and, he just spends time with these, children, as he calls them. Then he gets fat and lazy and he kind of loses all of his stuff. And then, he just likes having sex and, just more of the lazy stuff and just working. And then at one point he just realizes, he just wakes up from it and he says, yeah, I kind of had enough now. And then he walks away and he just, drops all the shit, and then he ends up with the guy, at the ferry. And he just stays there. Right? And then the woman dies, he could have just stayed with that woman, but he didn't. No, he had to drop it all, he could have walked the middle path, but he just walked from one extreme to the next, right? And I just seem to be able to walk the middle path, without getting fat like Ram does, And that's just what I chose every time. To hold my composure, to keep doing my yoga. Because I've never had, old man or any kind of man telling me to do yoga. I never really learned from anyone. Nobody showed me how to do any of these things. I just started doing them because I had the desire to do it. Because, I just realized I can be strong, but I can also be weak. I can be chubby, but I like being the way I am. So, if you really like being fat, then be fat. But, then be good at being fat. You don't have to be disgusting and fat. You can be kind of sexy and fat. You can be elegant at being fat. You don't have to be like the guy from Paprika that can't even get out of the, you don't need this much food. It's just all I'm saying. You don't need all of this food. You can just eat a bit less. And that's just by learning how to fast. I fasted, if I take it in years, I think the first time I fasted was 2020. And then I managed 6 days. And then on the 7th, I just broke my fast. For whatever reason, maybe it would have been too perfect for me to manage, because I seem to dislike perfection and controlling things to make them perfect, right? I like if things are just a bit round. I like to have, I can have just a bit of fat, but I will never get fat. Never, ever. I just know that. Because, if I realize I've been maybe eating too much, or I fail to transform all the food that I'm eating into art and things, then I will just eat less or transform more or just pay more attention. That's just one thing that shows me if I start getting fat, I'm losing consciousness, which is when I have to pull myself back together and then just shower cold. I don't have to take baths in nice water if I don't want to. I don't even have to hike, in bare feet. I don't have to do any of that. But I can if I want to. For me, it's not even the wanting. I feel like my spirit needs this to survive. And if I stop going barefoot into nature and exposing myself to the cold and just practicing breath work and doing, these yoga experiments, which is just stuff that I seem to remember. And I just started getting into these things. And I've already come this far with what seems like almost, of course, while I was doing it, it's heavy and suffering. And suddenly you push through, after 2-3 years, hard work, determination, which is something that will be hard to accomplish if you have to, work a job, next to this. No, man, why do you think I turned it into a job? Or, because I realized I have no time. Because if I work somewhere else, while I'm standing around waiting for customers, I could be working on myself. But unless somebody sees potential in that and funds me, there's no way I could ever do that. The government's not gonna come and say, oh yeah, I think it's really great that you practice your yoga, because unless you can do it already, they wouldn't see the potential in you. They wouldn't look you in the eyes and say, oh, I think you can do it, here's $5,000 a month, have a blast, because that wouldn't be yoga at all. That would just be, I don't know what. Because, If you just get 5,000 euros a month, you know, why do you deserve that? You know? Why do you think I share everything I do? Just so I can keep living. You know, I had to do something. You know, I had to earn my right to exist in this world. And that's as close to spirited way as you'll ever get. You have to work and you have to eat. You know, you have to work or you have to eat. Because if I just sit in the forest and, you know, fast and meditate, then I don't really exist in society. But I see how beneficial someone like me can be to society, because he just shows, you know, you can actually be like this. You know, I can smoke and still be strong, which takes away all of your excuses. You know, I can eat meat and still focus on doing my work. Oh shit! Something just touched me from behind, and I don't know what that was. Maybe just wind. You know, I just certainly felt like a push. You know, maybe I'm talking myself into a frenzy. Or maybe, you know, I'm just imagining things. You know, I just sometimes don't know. You know, I think I was talking myself into a frenzy, but it's the truth, right? I do see the benefit of people doing their job and working hard to discover the limits of human potential, which is something that I believe science has never done. Because science believes in gimmicks, and science believes in, what does science believe in? You know, man is great. You know, I believe that nature is great, because that's where I come from. And that's what I want to learn from. But I also acknowledge that, you know, I cannot be simply a man of the forest, you know, and neither do I want to be. You know, I like my comfort zone. I like being at home channeling energy into art. I like doing these things. And I think it's okay to like that, you know, but I also like leaving the comfort zone and reminding myself, you know, what it would have meant. You know, I don't think I will ever just retreat into the forest, because, you know, okay, what would happen in 30 years' time? If I'm still around, I don't know, maybe I would do it. I mean, 30 years is a long time. I mean, I've just lived through eternity. And you know what you think is like, you know, you think I'm 34. You say, I'm not 34 at all. You know, you don't know what yoga is until you've done it. You don't know what relativity is until you've experienced it, and you truly know that relativity means relativity. And that when Don Juan says, I'm as old as I want to be, you know, that's a fact. Because age does not exist. And that's why when Helena says to Paris, I was never as young as you are, or, you know, I was older when you know, that's just a fact. Well, that makes no sense, because if time's relative, well, but there is still differences, you know, because I look around, I see people are different, right? I look around, I see people are different, and because I see that, you know, people are different, I can make choices, and I can choose to, you know, be with some people and be away from other people, you know, so I can favor some people over others. So sure, you know, I'm not 34 at all, and I just keep saying that. You know, if you look at the age and the numbers, you know, sure I am, you know, to you, but do you know what it means to spend 9 days alone at home without the internet, I mean, that's an eternity for you. Because you accumulate, you accumulate energy. And the more energy you have, the more you can literally slow down time. And when you slow down time, you start to age. You start to age, which means, in that sense, I'm much older than you are. Because in the amount of time where you spend, working, I started to get to know myself. And that's just the point. And that's just weird. If you just stand around and you record yourself openly and you just talk about these things. Because to someone who didn't do this, it just makes no sense. It just makes no sense, but I don't give a crap anymore what anybody thinks. I just don't give a crap. Because anybody thinks he knows better doesn't know shit at all. And if I walk around and I talk to myself and you think that's weird, then I think, yeah, go ahead. Find it weird. It's 4 degrees, by the way. Because what I started to show with my work is simply that, I haven't found the limits of human potential yet. I haven't found it yet. And I'm still looking, I still think I have time, but you never know because you don't know what's around the corner. And sure, I do get uncomfortable. I do feel the presence of other people. So now I'm just gonna show you 2111, 4 degrees Celsius. Cheerio. So what's the path of a warrior? It should just be where you are. See what you can do. It is also selfish. But not only. It's not only selfish. Because if you start to show, how much you can grow, others know that there is further to go, right? They don't have to stop at being 30 and mediocre. No, they can reach for the stars. Whatever their star is like. Maybe it's, a really big woman, that can hug them and pound 5 kilos of dough and then carry 4 children in her arms, and ask for more work. Or maybe it's a delicate, little thing. It's really scrawny. Or maybe it's a big woman, but really thin, but tough as nails. Or maybe it's someone that's just a bit smaller than I am, or a bit bigger. I certainly am looking for a woman that is a bit like me. But who am I to say what's good for me? I've tried to decide what woman I want. I have to say, I don't know what I want. I certainly could see myself with someone, and that brings me back to the idea of twin flames and soulmates and all of that stuff. Do we really have to be meant for each other? Or could we just come across each other and like each other? Did it have to be fate or purpose? Or could it just, be random stuff? Do we really have to cling because there's nobody else like you? Or could we just say, I'll meet another Helena, I don't have to steal you and create a war. I can just, let you live out your fate. And then, I'll just move on. But, if Helena was older, then she also seduced Paris, because then she was the more knowledgeable. Or maybe she just got blind because of, wasn't Agamemnon, what was it then, his brother, because his brother overtook her, and all that kind of stuff. It was just a really random and weird situation. But I could just be talking on the phone, right? And then it wouldn't be weird at all. It would just be normal and not a problem. right. Yeah. I'm just staying away from people as much as I can. And I'm gonna turn off this camera because it starts to piss me